So Kev, we start the season where the last one ended, obviously in the regular season, of course, a trip to Gateshead this weekend. How much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I think so. It's like you said, it was the last regular season game, and ironic that we end up going back there again. So, no, looking forward to it. You know, I think your pre-season preparations are judged on getting people through minutes, getting people fit. You know, and I think we've done that as well as we possibly could in terms of having a shortened pre-season because of the playoffs, etc., and a shortened off-season. So delighted with everyone, you know, and how they've applied themselves to training, to matches and that, and you know, they're all in a good place and ready to go.
Yeah, you mentioned a shortened off-season. It would have been, or it will be, come Saturday, 69 days between the season ending and the season starting for this one. How would you assess the preparations that you've had?
Yeah, no, really good. I think it was one we had to manage because of, you know, you've signed players who probably hasn't played since the end of April, start of May, whereas you've got lads who've, you know, played up until the 1st of June, so it's important they got the full recovery, you know, and then you're managing minutes within pre-season, who's fitter than others. So I feel like we've done that quite well. We had a brilliant trip to Spain, which was, you know, really good for everyone, and, you know, a tough week where you got your most of your work done, and obviously the games then come thick and fast, and we've got everyone, we feel, minutes that we needed to, and we're in an okay place.
As we know, very close last season, weren't we, in reaching the promotion final. What can the players take from last season and the experience of that into this one coming up? Yeah,
everyone should be. You know, we didn't quite work out over the final hurdle, but, you know, when you look back at what was achieved last year, it was unbelievable. You know, and for the players, the staff, and the fans, and I think the strength of our football club is that. And that's everyone pulling together, and it's important we do that because we want to start as well as possible. We want to have a successful season, and we've done that last year through you know, an unbelievable effort, and we need more of the same again this year.
Yeah, Gateshead have had a summer of change themselves. What do you expect from them this weekend?
Yeah, listen, every time we've gone up there, it's been a tough game, and as you say, it's been a lot of change, and you know, we've seen it ourselves what it can do, and it can galvanise you, and you've got to give them a huge amount of credit for, you know, they haven't changed how they play. You know, they're consistent in everything they do. You know, and they always find good footballers, I have to say. And watching them, they're still similar. So listen, any time we've gone up there, you know, it's been a real good game of football. And you know, they'll be wanting to start the season well and put, you know, what's gone on in the summer behind them and focus on football. We're the same. You know, we want to get going as soon as possible. Looking forward to the game.
And just finally, 46 games ahead of us. Of course, there'll be many twists and turns, ups and downs. It might be hard just to give one, but what one key quality do you think will be important in maintaining throughout the season to lead to a successful?
And listen, there's going to be so many ups and downs, and that's football. You know, there's going to be frustrations, there's going to be highs, lows, but what we've got to do is try and remain consistent with what we do, and it's that togetherness. You know, I think, listen, we've stood here or sat here enough with what's gone on throughout the last 2 or 3 years. You know, what the strength of the football club is, a togetherness, and that happens within the change room, with the fans in the stand who back us everywhere, of course, and it's more of the same. You know, we've got that, and we're going to face hurdles along the way, but it's also one we should be looking forward to. You know, what a great end to the season we had last year. Let's go and make it another season that means something so much to the club.
Cheers, thank you.
Gavin, great to be back for a new season. You've touched on it a little bit there, but what would you say is the biggest thing that yourself and the squad has taken from this pre-season?
I think it's so important that you get people fit. That's it, you know, and injury-free to as much as you can, and we've done that in the majority of it. Getting new players integrated. You know, we haven't had to bring in too many. We're always looking to improve. I think that goes without saying. And you know, what team starts Saturday more than likely won't be the team that finishes the season. There'll be chops and changes on the way. We've probably got a challenge that we haven't had in terms of size of squads going into a season. So that strength and depth is there, and that's a challenge for the players as well, and challenge for everyone around it. That, you know, if you find yourself starting, then you've got to perform. We're here to win football matches.
You've mentioned that quality that you think will be vital for this season, togetherness as well. How have you sort of built on that asset as well through this season, both on and off the pitch?
Yeah, I think you can see the team spirit at the end of last season, and since we got the squad, in the place we wanted it since Christmas onwards, if you want, January onwards. But it's important you don't lose that. We've come through so much as a football club. It's important you don't forget that. But you look forward as well, and that's what we will be doing. And looking for the players to perform. If you're in the team and you've got the shirt, you've got to perform. We want to win more football matches than we did last year, and we want to be a successful team in this division.
If I may, obviously the playoff final, obviously Dave Southend United just fell short, as you say, of that hurdle. Can you talk me through what that reflection process was like after that result, and what you took from it going into this?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to see my reflections a couple of days after it, but listen, I think when you do look back at it and go, and it's easy to forget, what people and everyone in the club achieved, from where we were 12 months ago. Don't forget that. It was probably only 12 months ago that we're really coming out the side of new ownership. So for us to be at Wembley within touching distance of getting out of the league is an unbelievable achievement, and don't forget that. But, we have to look forward as well. And you take that, the positives and everything you did from that, and say that, like, the quality's there. We've got, some good, very good players. But we've got to take it into this season. And it can be difficult, of course, because people automatically think, well, just because you've done that, it happens again. It doesn't. What you've got to do is get the basics right, right throughout for the football club and every day on the training pitch. And we feel like we've got players with good attitude, which is good characters, which is the most important thing. And, hopefully we've got enough quality, and things we always look to improve, of course. And, I'm sure that'll happen.
I mean, it was a fantastic achievement to get to that playoff final, but going into this season, there will have been talk around National League of the expectations that will be of Southend United going into this. I mean, to what extent do you believe there will be certain pressures for Southend to be at the top end, and how would you manage that as a team?
Yeah, I think you've got to embrace that. That's what we are as a football club. We should be doing that, but I've also you've got to realise. You look at what a lot of the clubs have done in this league in terms of York, Forest Green, Carlisle, Eastleigh of thing, Yeovil. There's so many teams, and we know how tough this league can be. We've been in it now, obviously longer than we want, but at the same time, you can see how tough it is, and we've got to be ready for every game we go into this year. And as a club, as this fan base, yeah, but you look at what's got out of this league the last few years, it is very tough, and we've got to make sure we do everything right to be able to be in that position.
And you've been busy bringing new faces into the squad. So how do you feel about the business you've done so far in the transfer? Yeah,
pleased. I think we were never in a position where we needed to do loads. There's obviously specific areas we wanted, which we've done. So pleased in terms of Harry Boyes, Goody, who we know very well. Sam Austin is a good footballer as well, and got out of the league. Slavy's come in and showed, I think, what he can do. So obviously got more to go, and he'll progress as the season goes, and I'm sure he'll show how good he is. But as I say, things will, organically produce as it goes. What you start as, is never the way you're finished, and I'm sure there'll be one or two that maybe stay or go, or one or two that will come in. That's football. But where we starting point is now is better than where we've been for a while. So we've got to enjoy that.
If I may, on the new players as well, obviously Slavy, watched him a couple of times in pre-season, great physicality he brings in that front line, and he's had a great run coming in from Slough Town as well, so I suppose you want him to bring that and carry it on with Southend.
Yeah, absolutely. He looks like he's got a good football brain in terms of he's neat and tidy, but he can look after himself as well, so looking forward to him pulling on the shirt and seeing what he can do. And Harry Boyes obviously gives us balance on that left and good competition, and Goody and Sam Austin are proven players, so looking forward for them all. And I think it's important. We didn't want to do loads of business, but we're pleased with what we have done.
Yeah, I mean, Sam as well. So I think he was like the second top assist maker a couple of seasons ago. So what sort of role will he have coming into this top squad as well? Yeah,
listen, I think his obvious qualities in terms of the team, the quality of Notts County that got out of this league, played a big part, and has been playing in League Two. He's played slightly different position last year, quite frequently. So I think, as you said, he can provide assists. He can provide. We want to get him into areas where he can score goals. But his overall game, in terms of his work rate, his intelligence as a footballer, is very, very good.
Ben Goodliffe, you touched on it there. Player became very popular with Southend fans. Yeah. towards the end of the season as well. How important is it to have him back, not just for on the pitch, but also what he brings off the pitch in that squad sort of team spirit as well?
Yeah, definitely. And once you get to know him, you see the character he is. And but yeah, as you say, leadership qualities. In a very good age still, and good physicality in terms of what he brings there as well. And he's a threat, of course, on set pieces and both boxes. He's shown that how effective he can be.
Yeah, Harry Boyes feels like Harry Boyes knows a couple of players as well from the squad already as well.
Yeah, no, listen, Harry's. Listen, when we looked at Harry, we know him quite well, and great quality. Real good quality. And if we're honest, probably shouldn't be at the level, like with others, but hasn't had a great year last year. But I think, and this is where it's credit to our club, that what people have seen last year with us, and they want to come join us. So that's pleasing.
I know you said the weight of the squad is a bit fluid, so I know there's been talks about maybe other players. Are there any advancements of any other incoming players or anything?
Yeah, listen, I think it's quite obvious. An area we'd like to bring in, and hopefully we'll be able to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've talked about it as well, but obviously with pre-season there was talks among fans about the goals, but I mean, how much does that have to be balanced with the opponents that you were testing yourself against?
Of course, and listen, I think, I'm not naive to not know what people talk about at times, and it's pretty obvious. But if you look at what we did from the back end of November, etc., we obviously, everyone wants a 20-goal striker. I think that's, everyone in the league will tell you that. There ain't too many in the league. Because you had Gus, obviously, was up and among the top scorers of the league, and there's different ways of winning games. When we want everyone to contribute with goals, of course we want more goals. Of course it's something we look at every day. But we've got to stay calm and make sure you get the right people at the right time at the right deal. And we can't magic them out of a hat, but what you've got to do is make sure it's the right thing for the club, right thing for us as a team, and of course when we'll try and do something.
A great opportunity for them to get started in that regard with a trip up to Gateshead, bit of a strange, as you say, poeticness about it ending last season there, and then going back to it as well. And you've touched on the expectation again, like a very new side, that Gateshead side as well. So, where do you expect those key areas will be on the field against them?
Listen, you can see, how comfortable they are on the ball, and that's, credit to the philosophy they've had at the football club. That hasn't changed, and they've produced, so many good footballers, and a lot have gone on, and, they'll bring more in and they'll do the same again, I'm sure. And I think when you had a somewhat unsettled summer, it can cause problems, but it can also galvanise people, and we've seen that ourselves. So it's not something that we'll be taking lightly at all. They've still got good threats going forward in terms of the players they brought in as well, and still got a regular core that have been there a little while as well. So real tough game, tactically a tough one as well. So one we're looking forward to. Listen, and it's the opening game of the season. I'm sure it'll be hot, and one both teams will want to get off to a good start.
Yeah. It might be a bit of a strange question. So when it comes to opening day games, how does that game differ to maybe some of the other games you'll have during the upcoming season?
No, I think it's probably the build-up of when fans are looking forward to getting back to football and watching their team. Everyone wants to get off to a great start, and when you're this side of the fence, you want to get the result mainly. Anything can happen opening day if you want, but you're still settling into everything, and new players, etc., and everyone will be looking forward to seeing them. And for us, it's no different. Whatever points you pick up on the first day is no different to what you pick up 5 months later.
Now let's fast forward to full time up in the North East. Now obviously we will hope for the 3 points as well and getting something to take away from Gateshead, but what do you hope that fans of Southend United will see from your side on that pitch during those 90 minutes?
It's a winning team, that's what we want, and those that pull on the shirt will always give everything for the shirt. I think that's first and foremost, because people can play well, and people can have off days, but what you do, and I think it's a credit to the players, they've always given everything. They run through brick walls last season for the football club, and as a starting point, that's good. That's a good starting point to have for any football team, and I think the lads have done that, so that's what they'll get, no problem. We want good quality all over the pitch, and that goes without saying, and we want to come out on the right side of a result, of course.
Definitely. And if I may finish with just a question away from South, and obviously been more and more public news about what's been happening with fellow National League side and Morham at the moment, who are looking in a dangerous place at the moment. I wonder what thoughts you have on that? Obviously, it's a situation that has been similar to what Southend United have been through before.
Yeah, of course. And my thoughts are always, it's always the football team, the football club that seems to get caught up in non-football business, if you want. And I think it's important we don't forget that. We've been through it ourselves, of course, and I feel for the people, the fans, the players and everyone connected with the football club. It shouldn't get to that stage. You know, too often it does. And regulators and people in football need to keep an eye on stuff like that to make sure it never gets to that stage. I know how hard that can be, but at the heart of it, it's a football club, you know, and part of the town, part of the cities that we've had. And I think it's important people don't forget that when you get into these areas and takeovers, and put the football club first. I think that's the most important thing for me.
Okay, looking forward to hearing that.
Thank you.
How's Cav and Tom Hopper?
Yeah, you know, Cav's trained today, you know, which was good. He got his scan results, which weren't too bad. So he's managed to do some training today. Tom Hopper's also joined in as well.
And how close are we to a striker coming on board?
Yeah, listen, close. I think, you know, it's ongoing, and until anything's ever done, obviously you never know. But everyone at the club's been working really hard together, and as I say, it's got to be right deal for everyone if it happens, and when you do try and bring people in, and that's the player, his club, us. So once that all comes together, then things usually get done.
And is this the best season you've had as a Southend United manager, would you say, in terms of the preparation?
Listen, I think there's always teething problems, if I'm being honest. You know, I won't stop searching for perfection, and I think that's my job to push the club. There's areas I want improved, which I think is my job to challenge the club and push it forward. In terms of having the squad ready, yeah, probably. It's never exactly where you want it. You'll always look to improve, and I think as a fan base and as a club, you know, with the takeover we've got now, we've got that stability behind us, and with putting the foundations in place, I think it puts you in a good place to be successful.